Oh fuck! I don't know how to start. How do you want to start?
Um, just say something like, "Hey guys,
Hey
hey
guys!
guys, Comedy Shorts Gamer here,
Hey
back with
guys!
another
Comedy Shorts
GTA video
Gamer
with my
here.
brother."
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Welcome to the tentatively named
MirrorCast.
MirrorCast podcast, where I don't think we have an actual name for it yet.
Yeah,
That
but
we've
it's a work in
entirely agreed
progress.
upon.
I think MirrorCast works, and it's something like we could make a gimmick line for it, like um MirrorCast, where we reflect on the issues of the past week, or where we reflect on a couple issues of the past week. Make
Oh
it something
shit!
really gimmicky.
Oh shit, dude! You're giving me a fucking marketing hard on.
Dude, am I, bro? I'm ready for this, dude. I'm ready
Yeah,
for
dude. Are
this.
you ready?
I'm
Because
ready.
we've already started.
I know, technically.
All right. So let's kind of explain what this is.
Okay.
Right. So we decided one day, about 4 days ago, that we'd make a podcast about recent events because we both got really fucking fueled over Twitter, and we were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
let's make a podcast about this shit."
Yeah. I mean, I've always been kind of like triggered about just like random shit, and like so this is like a venting point, I guess, like something where it's actually productive and it's not like totally ruining shit. Um,
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, we're currently working on production quality.
yeah.
We don't exactly have much of a direction at the moment, so everything's kind of all wonky
Yeah,
and
like
first
it's gonna
timey.
be rough. It's gonna be real
Rough like a
rough, but
dog,
like
dog.
eventually it will come to form. Um, yeah, I mean that's where we're at. In terms of like the actual structural bit, but we do have kind of a structure to it. We do have like kind of a format, and it's very tentative. Everything is very, very tentative at this point. But for now, we're looking at 3 articles. We're looking at probably weekly or bi-weekly, kind of leaning towards weekly because, like, I don't know, sounds good. I don't know, but in general, just anything that comes up during the week that's worthy of discussion and worthy of like a closer look. Um, the name Mirrorcast kind of looks at reflecting into that kind of stuff. Um, and kind of taking a deeper look at it and really providing like an alternative viewpoint on issues, whether we're qualified or not to talk about them.
Yeah, yeah. Who's to say we're that qualified?
Yeah, I mean it's
Uh,
it's a zero qualification podcast. It's no qualifications. And won't even give the illusion off of expertise or anything like that. Like it's just
no,
gonna
we've read
be
a few articles and we're giving our
and we're
opinions.
giving our opinions. So I think with that, I think we're ready to start. Are we
Oh
ready
hell
for
yeah,
this? Hell yeah. Okay.
dude! I'm ready. So let's start with the first article
Okay.
we've got
So
to pull up and our opinions on.
yep. So and then okay, just beforehand, I think what at this point, like if we're gonna do things where each point, like we'll have a jump point to get to it, and then it will be linked in the description, I believe. So if you also want to look at the article and kind of read over it yourself, that's probably what we'll do. But very tentative, very tentative. We'll see if that actually, comes to form. But okay, so diving into it, the first article we have is a Pew Research study that came out March 20th. So yeah, just going along within the week. So that would have been Tuesday. Um, Basically, what it is they did a study that viewed trends in party affiliation among demographic groups. So this is really only applicable to the United States. Um, and over the past years, and like a lot of what they found in this is um, alarming. I mean, it's just alarming no matter what you or how you align politically. It's scary to see how divided we are and how much actual polarization exists, like within the nation. So, like, um, things like there's a huge gender gap between Republicans and Democrats, or whether you lean those way. There's huge racial gaps in how you vote with Black, Hispanic, and Asian voters. It says in there remain overwhelmingly Democratic. just showing that we're really separated on party lines and according to like how we're divided like in terms of like social and demographic figures. Um,
Dude, that's insane.
it's
I'm looking over some of these, and it's
it's
kind of insane.
it's frightening. The biggest one, the scariest one for me is definitely the education gap.
Yeah,
If
I that was the first one I noticed when I
if
read it a couple
if
days ago.
you what they read into is that if you are a Democrat, you are far likely to be, or if you are a Democrat, or if you are college educated, I should say, you are far more likely to be a Democrat. If you graduate with just a high school diploma, you're far more likely to become a Republican. If I mean, and that just increases that as you get to each point of education. So if you have high school or less, you're far more likely to be a Republican. If you're a graduate student, the statistically, like if you're not a liberal, like you defy statistics. The big one that's poking out is the postgraduate experience for this year. 63% of people who have postgraduate school experience identify as Democrat or Democrat leaning. That's insane.
Yeah.
That I mean, we there's like a lot of like what exists now in terms of like popular culture in terms of political divisions kind of shows that where like Republicans are almost stereotyped as not believing in like or not being educated, but like
Well,
it's
yeah, they're stereotyped as like these hick hillbilly types,
mhm.
whereas Democrats are more stereotyped to be these quote, SJW social justice types.
Yeah, who are like who go to the liberal college campus and do all this. But
Yeah, and I think it's also on that. I think it's also just because lots of campuses are really really liberal, and there's just not a lot of room for people on the Republican side. Like in fact, if you get some, and I have a few anecdotes about about my experience with a couple Republicans on my campus. It's really fascinating because they're so far and few between. Um,
yeah.
like there's this one kid who wears a DACA hat or DACA.
The mega hat. I
MAGA. I meant
love
MAGA,
those,
not
dude.
DACA. Totally off on that one.
Easily confused. Easily confused.
Yeah. But there's this kid who wears a MAGA hat all the time, all the time, and I'm just like, I don't. I mean, I personally, obviously, I don't too much agree with President Trump too often at all, if at all. But I'm sometimes I look at him and I get really confused, and I'm just like, wow, I almost feel sorry for you that you're being stared at
Yeah,
constantly
and
just because you're wearing a
you're
fucking
so
hat.
alone. Like I know for
Yeah.
like the University of Minnesota, like the I mean the college Republicans, at least on this campus, like have no I mean all they are provocateurs, basically. I mean there's not enough people or support in order for them to do actual policy related activities. And like that's kind of true also for like the college Democrats and like the other liberal groups, but just that there are other liberal groups that exist on campus, like they far outnumber the number of conservative groups. So like even in like anecdotal experience, like it's clear at least like in terms of just like seeing it, you know.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that's I mean that's crazy. I mean even like there's some stereotyping in that like conservative ideology like ignores science, but just to look at like statistically what it looks like, I mean it's impressive. Um and there's a couple other notable things not to focus like too hard on the education gap. Like just white people in general, if you just like the characteristics that the article shows, it's like if you are white and you don't have a whole lot of education under your belt, you're definitely a Republican. Like it's nowhere close. And that so closely matches what like the demographics saw in like exit polls for the 2016 election was that most of the people who voted for Donald Trump are white. Their men typically was another a big thing, and then they're also don't have a lot of education under their belt.
Well, wasn't there one on people who actually go to vote, and then like the majority was Republicans and Democrats were lower?
Um,
I swear there was something in here about
I
it.
did not see that. But
Maybe I was looking at something
I
else.
mean, yeah, I mean, there's some interesting like smaller bits in there. Like the Democratic Party has a wide advantage among Jewish voters. Finding that really interesting, especially after the 2016 election, because like Steve Bannon and Breitbart and a lot of the rise of the alt-right having anti-Semitic tendencies, it's not surprising that a lot of Jewish people went Democratic, with those people being forced into the mainstream. And
Yeah.
so that's not surprising, but otherwise it's just a lot of it is just the current trends we've been seeing, where um people from the city are also very Democratic, and like rural voters hold a lot of Republican tendencies as well. I mean, it's really
You know,
interesting to see like the divide of it.
I'd really like to see like some. This is the reason why I originally wanted to go into social studies slash psychology, is because I want to see why that trend is. Like
Yeah.
why is that? Why is it that rural people in rural towns are more Republican versus in the city? Like I kind of get it. There is an education gap still.
Yeah.
Versus like because there's some kids out there who don't even go to school. They just stick around on their farmhouse,
Yeah.
kind of deal.
And I mean,
And that
there's
does happen. I used to work with a guy who basically lived on a farmhouse his entire life, never went to school.
yeah.
So
I mean, and there's interesting stuff there too. Like a lot of the dynamics there, like the more rural you go, the whiter things get. I mean, for
yeah,
some of these, you just kind of have to look at like what it actually like means, like, 'cause for a lot of them, I mean, yes, it shows that there is like a direct trend between a lot of that, but I mean, there's a huge correlation between if you're a minority, like you're more likely to live in the city, and both of those show heavy Democratic support, for whatever reason that is, which I mean, there's a host of
oh,
reasons why that could be. Like, the housing discrimination is one of them. Like, a lot of suburban neighborhoods are majority white, um, just because like of housing discrimination and other things similar to that. Um, so there's systematic reasons why some of that happens. Um, it's just,
dude,
yeah,
this is fucking crazy. I'm looking at the Democratic advantage among millennial voters
yeah,
area,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
statistic area. It's crazy how like we're pretty like relatively mixed up, from
yeah.
the silent boomer and Gen X generations, but then as soon as you get to millennial, it's like ultra fucking split.
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's
it's
crazy, dude.
insane, and like among the other ones, like it's very closely tied. It's showing that like politically, like there is like a huge generation gap. I mean,
Oh,
something
huge.
that's absolutely mad. It's a generation gap between, people who at the time would have voted for like Nixon or Reagan or both of the George Bushes, and then now once the millennial generation is now becoming a huge voting power, we're seeing a lot of like Democratic leaning voters. And
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. All the, millennials are
yeah.
getting into the voting age now.
Yeah, and
Well, not just now, but like, for a few years, but now most of them are now just finally getting into voting age.
yeah, and
It's
we're
fucking crazy,
yeah,
dude.
or they're just rolling into the point where they give a damn about anything political. Like that's
Well, I think this year, like, or excuse me, not this year, last year, like during the election, I think that really like hit people into actually doing shit.
yeah,
Because I know that not a lot of people attended the 2016 elections because they were like, oh, it's pointless. Why should I?
yeah,
Like that's what I heard from a majority of not just my friends, but like a few people on like Twitter and shit. Like you just hear like, I don't want to go. There's no point. He's gonna win or she's gonna win. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know, you're a voter.
America is
I think it's
pathetic.
your right to vote. You know.
Yeah, America
Yeah.
is pathetic in voter turnout. Like we average like between like 40 and 60% every single time of people who vote. And that's like and that's where like democracy is like kind of sketches me out in a way because it's designed democracy is designed to be a system where everyone votes to express their opinion. If you don't have close to 90 or 100% of people voting, you aren't really getting the opinion of everyone who exists within like that entity, and in this case it's the United States. You're not really getting the opinion of those people. Whereas like and that's hard because then if you don't have like 50% of the people voting their opinion, you're not really getting what the people want. You're getting what half of the people want. And
Yeah.
I mean, it defeats democracy in a way, and it really shows that people don't really care about a lot of people don't care at all like what happens politically, or they think it's kind of a sham show, or that it's kind of rigged in a way.
And I was
Yeah,
just inclined. I was literally just now like my core just was inclined to agree with you, but I'm like I can't. That's not what I really think. But like, I wow, yeah, it's definitely
yeah,
because my immediate like my gut response is to say, well, yeah, fuck, you know, fuck fuck politics. None of it matters. It doesn't matter
yeah,
what we as the voters do. But it's like, of course it does. So
yeah,
like, you know, even with that, my guttural response tells me that other people probably have that exact same response, and
yeah,
and as opposed to where I did vote, they probably didn't, and they were like, oh, this feeling I have is like, no, I shouldn't, and I don't want to, and then they don't, and it's like,
yeah.
dude, you know, you're ruining it. You're
I mean,
literally
yeah,
ruining it.
it,
You're screwing yourself by not
yeah.
doing
And
anything about it.
if you look at the numbers, like that kind of sentiment makes sense. I just looked it up. The population of the United States is 325.7 million people, like as of this year. And like if we're gonna be really honest with ourselves, like even if like we take out like 20% of that group to account for people who can't vote or are too young to vote or anything like that, you're still looking at least like you're just one out of hundreds of millions of people. But even if 100 million people think that same thing, you lose your voice. And like a lot of people this election were really mad because of how the popular vote turned with Hillary Clinton getting the majority of the votes. That really can't be contested at this point. I mean, that's just a fact. Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote, but didn't win on the electoral college. And so a lot of people really call into question whether their vote counts, like especially if you lived in California, like if you're a Republican
Oh
in
yeah.
California, your vote does like accounting for how liberal it is there, like your vote instantly becomes kind of waved out. But it's still important, especially in states where they divide electoral college votes. It's still incredibly important to go out and vote. I mean, you have to do it. If you want
Yeah.
any sort of change, if you want your ideas to be communicated in like that space, you have to
Regardless of
vote.
what side you're on,
Yeah,
regardless of what
I
side,
mean, it
it
doesn't
is,
matter.
you
If
know.
you want your voice to be heard, you have to express it. And that is one of the few ways that you can do it without becoming like um hugely political. I mean, you just one day you vote, and that's how the system is designed, is that for that one day, that first Tuesday in November, you express your opinion. And like a lot of people don't realize that there's plenty of other opportunities to vote that actually affect things that are a lot closer to them. Like your local election is far more likely to influence your day-to-day life than the election for the presidency is.
Yeah, and
And
I think with that, I think we need to sort of have a better idea of like people need to get more involved in their own
yeah,
community, and like they Like, you don't need to research too much. Just look up, like, the policies of the
Yeah.
people running. That's all you gotta do. Just look up the policies and when you look at those policies, and I'm talking about people that are running for, like, governor or something, like, mayor of the town. Like, just look at their policies.
Yeah.
And if you look at them and you say, yeah, I'd like that, then you fucking go for it.
Yeah.
It's like you're voting for a fucking map in a fucking Call of Duty game.
Exactly.
If you like that one, you fucking vote for that.
Yeah,
It's that simple, and it takes a little bit of research, but like, if it looks good, then go for it. That's what I did. I looked into some shit and I voted for who I voted for.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of research out there that shows, especially in the last election cycle, like policy related advertisements or policy related information was really low, and a lot of it was just focused on the individual characteristics of the people involved, whether it was like Hillary or Donald both lying, or the corruption involved on both sides. Like Hillary Clinton, like the DNC rigging is incredible still at this point, that like we haven't been completely shook about it. For Trump, I mean, there's scandals going in and out every single day, and we'll get to a lot of those later in the show here, just with like the articles coming up on how that works. But policy at this point in time, like for a lot of people, it doesn't matter. People don't really care what your policy position is, as long as you have an agreeable personality.
That's kind of what I want to get into, is how different our fucking our system, our social system of voting has become since like the boomer generation.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed, I can't remember which guy it was running for president. It's really famous. He was making a speech or something like that for running, and he like just made this weird face or something. And this was like, I think 10 years ago or so.
Was
he
this
made like a weird face, and then like immediately after he made the weird face, he got so much backlash that he had to drop out of the race entirely.
It might have been was it a Kennedy?
Hold on, I have to look it up myself, because I swear.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a Kennedy. It was. Wait, was it? I think it might. No, I don't remember. Hold on. But it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the characteristics
that's not how it is anymore, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the characteristics of the person. I think I know what you're talking about. I just can't put a name to who it was. But like, it was when TV and radio really became.
Howard Dean.
Yeah, it was when TV and radio really became prominent. Was that against Ronald Reagan?
No, dude, it was 2006.
Oh wow. Oh, never mind. Whoa.
It was Howard Dean's scream. He screamed.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. But
he made a weird.
There's
voice.
another
Here,
example.
I can link it if you want to look at it. But
yeah, I mean, here, pop that in here. But yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter what your policy position is anymore, and that's.
Hold on. What is that? What's that in the background?
Yeah, background to what?
Oh, never mind. I'm an idiot. Sorry.
All right. You're scaring me.
Google was auto playing.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that happened to me with the thing. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive that people don't care about like the actual political policy.
Nope,
position.
not that one. not that. That's a fucking Lost meme.
Oh god.
I didn't mean to bring that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like shit like that, like a scream, you know? Like, if Donald Trump had made a scream like that, and he's done pretty, I think, I would say he's probably done worse than that.
Yeah. Well, now they're turning it on its head almost. There's so many gifs of Donald Trump making weird ass faces or doing weird ass shit. And
it's almost like that was publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's insane. It's like celebrities becoming president.
No, yeah.
And I know that sounds so like, fucking baby boomer, but like
it is.
It's like celebrities coming, and it's like celebrities becoming presidents, and it's like, what the fuck,
dude?
That makes no sense.
It's embarrassing. Like, I know the recent thing has been that Oprah Winfrey was was considering a presidential run. And for me, as someone who is leaned democratically, in my limited political, in my limited ability to be politically active, I find that almost appalling in the sense that it is kind of stooping down to the same level that that Donald Trump is. Yeah, because okay, so what Donald Trump what Donald Trump represents to yeah, you didn't. It's bad. What Donald Trump represents to Republicans is the same thing that Oprah Winfrey represents to Democrats. In like, so this is going to be a hot take. Okay, Oprah Winfrey represents Democratic policy positions in a way that she has achieved wealth as a black woman, and she is now using that wealth to, I mean, her shows are infamous for handing things out. And it would so backfire if she was to run as a candidate, because I can only imagine the trolls who would be like, that's exactly how she would lead in a policy related situation, is just handing things out. And while it's obvious that welfare doesn't work like that, like it's clear that welfare is not just a handout. The ability to lampoon Oprah Winfrey at this point in time is like ridiculous. And I mean, there's no real solution to that. I mean, she now in this point in time, she would face so many issues. I mean, from Obama, there was so many people who take issue with the fact that he was black. I mean, there's conspiracy theories all about how he's born in another country, like specifically Kenya, and then Hillary Clinton took a lot of backlash being a woman, even from candidates themselves who were so Donald Trump was so sexist in some of his approaches to Hillary Clinton, where it wasn't necessary and it wasn't right. To inflict double that on Oprah Winfrey in today's political climate would be almost death, in combination with her immense wealth and representing what Republicans lampoon about liberals. It wouldn't work. Hillary
it would fail. It's going to backfire.
Yeah, it would backfire so hard. And just the fact that there's all this stuff happening, it's unbelievable.
I do want to acknowledge that there is in fact a vast amount of people out there who did want Donald Trump for his policies. I'm not going to completely disregard the fact that there were in fact people who voted for him because they really did want his policies that he was claiming he was going to enact. Yeah. Which, by the way, very few I've witnessed. Yeah. I don't personally know statistically, but I'm pretty sure.
No, let's just look at what happened today. So even today, which would have been the 23rd, he threatened to veto, but then he passed the spending bill, and it specifically has literature in there that says that he can't build his border wall. He can't even build a prototype of it. So good fucking luck with building that wall, because that died today. The whole Breitbart had some headline that had the skull emoji and it was "Rip Border Wall." The hard right.
Everyone was so pissed.
Dude, the hard right is triggered right now.
They were so triggered
because the wall's gone. And for me, I really was hoping that he would have vetoed the spending bill. Not for the border wall, but just because it didn't include the immigration legislation that we need right now. It just It didn't include it.
It was absolutely ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. I saw some of it. I saw the left and the right getting pissed off about it.
Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter said that.
She's such an idiot.
Yeah, it's so dumb. He said that. I'll pass it this time, but I won't again. And then Ann Coulter, if you're familiar, was
dude,
if you do that again, you're gonna be impeached.
His tweets are fucking insane.
Well, the right only uses him as a figurehead when it services them. If we're being honest,
and then they'll just abandon him like a fucking.
Oh yeah, if he doesn't do what they want, he's fucking dead meat, and that's absolutely fascinating for what 2020 will look like. And like going
Yeah, it's almost like he's a puppet for that side. But like it's a
exactly.
puppet that does its own thing
And
sometimes.
if the puppet doesn't act how the person controlling it wants it to, the puppet's getting burned. Like the
Yeah.
puppet's going up in flames. It's gonna fucking burn.
Dude, because I know a lot of people, lots of Republicans voted for him specifically for his policies.
Yeah.
Like
Or,
specifically,
or
not even for his personality or anything, nothing
yeah.
like that. Specifically for his policies. And when he does not enact those, he is going
He's gonna lose
his
part of his
approval
base.
ratings are going shit down.
Yeah, he's gonna lose
They're
like a
going
lot
rock
of
bottom.
his base. And there's like his base is going to be triggered. I mean, they really counted on him to be someone who
They
is
are
different.
triggered, dude.
They're triggered now, but they're going to be really triggered if it doesn't turn around. And
It's
like it's so impressive. And a lot of people thought he'd be different and that he wouldn't buck. Like he's Donald Trump. He's got the Art of the Deal book, like dude walks on
well,
fucking water in some
dude,
circles. And like
dude, see
his deal,
see,
he got cucked. I mean, he
yeah.
straight up just got cucked, and like he wasn't.
Cucked himself, yeah.
Yeah, if he vetoed it, he would have shut the government down, and he would have been fucking dead meat for every side. I mean, no one. If there's one thing we can agree upon, it's that we don't want the government to shut down.
Yeah.
It makes you look really bad. It makes you look like you can't
Dude,
compromise.
he shut it down twice already for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. That happened
we're in a
once
lot.
in my
We're in a
lifetime.
lot of trouble. Like in terms of
Aside from in 2008, that's the only time it's ever happened. Was that 2008? 2000?
it was
I can't remember when
some
the last
time
one
like
was.
that, but it's
I remember being told of it and I made mental note of it, but
yeah, at some point.
it was fucking ridiculous.
Dude, it's so impressive that like it's like wow. Yeah, I mean I can't believe how dysfunctional like things are now. And we'll roll into it, especially because like a lot
Yeah.
like the articles are so like yeah, and we're like way off track in terms of like the article, which
I think we covered it. We can
yeah,
move on
okay.
to the next one.
Okay, so we're moving on.
And I'd like to cover this. I'd like to cover this one primarily.
All right, you're on this one.
All right. So there was I don't know how many people are too terribly aware of this. I'm not sure how much of the public actually knows of this. But there was a YouTuber named Count Dankula, who basically he taught his pug, or his girlfriend's pug, how to do a Nazi salute. And
classic.
like, respond. And no, it's really funny. But he also taught the dog to respond to whenever he said "gas the Jews," and the dog would like get super excited.
Damn.
So he'd be like, "Gas the Jews," and then the dog would like get super fucking excited, like it's about to get a treat.
Dude.
And see, I'm even laughing right now.
Yeah, because at face value, if you take this at face value, it's like it's objectively comedic, both for like the prank bit and like what it is, like the.
But we'll get to that in just a second here. But basically, for doing that, he was being prosecuted for a very long time. Like I think about a year or so. He's been prosecuted.
That sounds right.
Going to court a lot. There's been a lot of delays, and just recently on the 20th, he on March 20th, he ended up going to court finally to get his sentencing, and he was found guilty for hate speech, and it was something very specific.
It was a violation of
like
the Electronics Communication Act or something like that for Scotland.
Yeah, but basically they said on the most basic scale they're like that's hate speech. Basically, is what they were saying. And he was found guilty, and that's so fucking ridiculous.
Dude, it's insane. Your take first because you're the more passionate individual about this. Like,
so this has so much to do with one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is offensive jokes. Because I've used offensive jokes. I've used that comedy style for a very long time, like basically throughout my whole edgelord years of high school, and I still use offensive humor. like today, it's not as funny because it's kind of like ironic. It has a lot of irony layers on it.
Yeah.
But you know, it's something I love because I find it fucking hilarious, and so I have a lot of defense for offensive comedy. And in fact, you'll see me very commonly on Twitter. Look in the description for my Twitter.
Nice.
You'll
And
see very commonly
the self plug.
You'll see very common in my Twitter whenever something like this happens. I make paragraph tweets, like hundreds upon hundreds of tweets about freedom of speech. And in this case, I was defending. I'm defending Count Dankula.
Yeah.
So I can't remember his name. What's his name?
Marcus. His name is Marcus.
Meechan.
Meechan.
Meechan, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna defend him to hell because I will not stand for this. It's fucking ridiculous. It's a violation of free speech. And I'll get into why, because, you know, right now, from the bare minimum, it sounds like, you know, that's hate speech. Why wouldn't he? Blah, blah, blah. But, so the reality of this is that he made a joke, right?
Yep.
He made a joke about Jews. In fact, about Jews and about the Holocaust and about Hitler, yada, yada, Nazism, stuff like that. Now, if you watch the video, which I think the video is linked somewhere. They probably didn't.
Yeah, I think it's like partially linked in the Newsweek article. Well, yeah, just a little bit.
Find it.
There's just like a small chunk of it.
If you ever get the chance to watch it. If you ever get the chance to watch the actual video itself of the prank, he explains the entire joke. Like he explains the entire thing as he's setting it up. He basically states the whole thing as like he did it to piss off his girlfriend, and he thought that it'd be funny to show this adorable pug, something that his girlfriend finds adorable, you know, something adorable and cute.
Yeah. And
he's like, I'm gonna teach this thing something evil and vile, and it's gonna be hilarious because it's such a juxtaposition to have you know, something adorable and cute do something so evil and vile, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole basis of the joke. That's what makes it funny.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the only thing that makes it funny is the juxtaposition bit. I mean, that's
the only thing.
I mean, it is. They show the pug, like it is an adorable pug, and like the pug, like there's a picture in the article where the pug is like watching a fucking Hitler speech, and like even just that image, or it's in the video they include. The Who is Count Dankula YouTuber convicted over offensive Nazi salute video on this Newsweek article. It's in the video where this dog is watching this Hitler speech. And, like, it's an adorable fucking pug watching something that's pretty much objectively awful. And it's comedic. It's definitely... It's hilarious. It's comedic in a way that, like, where context matters in this one. And I think where this is where it's going to end up going. Is that context in any situation matters. Like, if this dog...
Absolutely.
One, there's, like, the small context things that, like, you can just infer that it's not serious. Like, the video itself is called Mate Your Dog's a Nazi, which is, like, the Scottish is, like, Mate Your Dog is a Nazi. Like, it's clearly not, like, a serious thing. And I think, like, a lot of people who choose to get offensive or get offended by these things lose that context. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of ignore.
I have a few tweets that I made to this young man. I'm not going to name him, obviously. But I had a very, very, like, 4-day long thread with this young man. Not 4-day, 3-day. A 3-day long thread of tweets with this man because he and I were in an argument, and he was making extremely bad points, mind you. Like, these are bad points. They were really bad. They weren't good at all. And I know that's coming out of my ass, but I basically, he thought, this young man thought that that Count Dankula was trying to promote Nazi ideals. And I, in response, was like, you're a moron. If you actually watch Count Dankula, then you know he's a living meme. And it was a clear joke at the expense of Nazis. And he just went on and on about how, rather I went on and on. I posted like 5 tweets in response to his one tweet. But he basically went on to say that people like well, he used Richard Spencer in the alt-right. He said that people on the alt-right are going to use this essentially as like Nazi propaganda. And I'm like,
I don't see it. I don't see it.
First of all, this cannot be propaganda. No normal human being with an actual thought process and an actual organization that they're attempting to make dominant is going to watch a video of a pug doing a Nazi salute and say, "I got it. I'll show my buddies here, and they'll turn into Nazis too."
Yeah, no one actually thinks
no right
that.
human in the mind.
No one actually thinks that.
Ever think
and
that.
It's unique to bring up the Richard Spencer example because if there's one thing that your average American will never get on board with, it's Nazis. Like these alt-right groups are trying to avoid as even if they share the same sentiments as like Hitler and Nazis, a lot of them try to avoid any imagery associated with Nazis because if there's one thing that you're not going to get Americans to get on board with, it's Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. So it's
you're
like
never gonna get people on board with that.
If you're trying to spread the, and his other argument was that, well, I was in response. I was making the argument for offensive jokes because he was also attacking offensive jokes and how they're not right to use. And I'm obviously for them. So in response, he was basically saying that when people hear this information, when they are taught something like a Nazi salute or they're taught Nazi ideals, that they are going to become a Nazi. And that's basically the mindset that this dude was going in with. And I was like, that's wrong.
I don't see that.
So my idea of how people learn things and how people gain ideals and opinions is around their childhood, they're really malleable, right? They're super malleable in opinion, and that's understandable, you know. You don't want to teach this kind of stuff to a kid, but I don't think a fucking 3-year-old's going to be seeing Nazi stuff, honestly. I think it's very avoidable for them. But when you're like, I'd say like 18 and up or so, which is around the time when you're going to be looking this stuff up seriously to be considering opinions, I really truly I think that you definitely I was saying that the person teaching is not the one converting them. The person who is listening, the person who is taking in the information, they have free will to do whatever they want with that information, and then they can create their own opinions from it. You don't hear something from someone and then automatically say, I am that person's opinion.
Yeah.
I have that exact same opinion. No, I follow a ton of people who have a similar opinion to me, but even I kind of mend the opinion to my own will because that's what I want to believe. That's what my opinion is.
Yeah.
And that from that customization of that information and that opinion, I make my own opinion. You know.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. And like, well, okay, so let's put this into context because like a lot of the issue doesn't stem from like what actually happened. It stems from the concept that it embodies, and that's this offensive joke thing. I mean, if you make
this is the main that's the main crux of this whole issue.
That's where a lot of this is coming from. Because
offensive jokes, the two sides are offensive jokes are okay, offensive jokes are okay, offensive jokes are not okay.
Yep.
Those are the two sides right now. And one side thinks that someone should be prosecuted for making a joke up against Nazis, and then the other thinks that you should not be prosecuted for making a joke against Nazis.
Oh, and that's interesting in itself because the joke is literally at the expense of Nazis. Like the joke exists because like Nazis are bad, therefore I will teach my cute dog Nazi things as a juxtaposition. Like the whole premise of it is that Nazis are bad. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and my sort of idea behind that is that it's almost an insult to Nazis themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Because what person in an organization wants to be portrayed as something cute, adorable, and silly as a pug? You know,
dude, and
like I just see like if Hitler saw that, he'd be like,
silly.
"Get that fucker," you know, like executed.
Yeah,
you know.
Well,
like,
the pug in itself is like, it's fucking adorable. Its name is Buddha.
Yeah.
It's like this is like the most lampoonable situations ever. Like the pug is literally like fucking adorable. Um, and one thing I wanted to touch on in terms of like the context of this offensive joke thing is the ability for us to be so ignorant of like the things that we perceive as wrong and like the double standard that exists in our society. So like we've been especially now on this thing where any joke that's mistaken by a person is instantly becomes an absolute fucking crisis for some people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, where if it's not on your side, if a I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. If a liberal is telling a joke to a liberal, it's a joke. If a liberal is telling a joke to a Republican, it's not a joke. This is serious shit. And that's where the miscommunication comes from. And
yeah, or
like
vice versa or something like that.
this young man that I spoke with on Twitter, he and I were having just this terrible miscommunication because he automatically he took me as a Nazi.
Oh yeah, of course, because well,
Yeah.
we're gonna generalize, and so like in those
Yeah,
situations, like
he
it's definitely
automatically takes me as a Nazi, so I can't make
yeah,
any jokes. I'm not allowed. But I took this situation very. I think I gave you screenshots of this. Yeah, you should know this
yeah,
conversation. I gave you all the screenshots for it.
yeah.
But I don't think you saw the end of it. The end of it's basically like we actually agreed on how we want. Like I consider Nazis to be bad, and he's like, at least we can agree on something. I'm like,
Well,
I
every
hope we got somewhere with
fucking the
that.
majority of the world would agree with that.
Yeah, the majority of the past like fucking, like
Well, yeah,
60
and
years
just
would
to
agree
put
with you.
this into broader context, like so
Probably not 60, sorry.
so like jokes making fun of like demographic differences, whether it's racist or sexist, are the big prominent ones. And
Yeah.
I know this one is like edgy in terms of like the ideology of it, but let's just like one thing I was thinking of because I this is gonna be cringy as shit. But
Okay. I'm ready.
today at work we the radio was playing on. Yeah, and him and I the fucking Halsey G-Eazy song was on. Are you
Yeah.
ready for this cringe, dude? And let's just get this out of the way. G-Eazy and Halsey as individuals and as musicians are so easily lampoonable. Like Halsey makes music for white women who smoke cigarettes and think they're edgy when they shop at the thrift store and go vegan. That's the Halsey listener base. And G-Eazy's not a lot better. Like if you talk to anyone who's serious about like rap with a message, G-Eazy is out of the question. It's awful. The only people that I've ever seen who religiously listen to G-Eazy are girls who attempt to be sexually promiscuous and guys who are on like some kind of douche tangent. Like these two people like let's just I
I kind of
we're
heard
just yeah, there's
some
some
personal
chatter.
shit in the
There's some
background
chatter,
there.
but dude, fucking anyone who listens to these two individuals, it's sad and now they're together and that's adorable in a sad sort of way. But so like we've had a lot of problems where like especially in certain situations.
Sorry, I can't get over what you said. I can't get over what you said
Dude,
about the
well,
fucking
it's just honest and that's an offensive joke.
in a douche
Come
trip. I like
come
that.
get me. Well, okay, so some of his lyrics are
Oh, I
just
don't
like
think I'm getting you. I
if
think someone else will
you're
get you
so self-absorbed you listen to G-Eazy, it's fucking incredible.
though.
But anyways,
I don't listen to either, so I don't
getting to
know.
the point,
But
I was just
I know what
casually
I
listening.
know what guys you're talking
I'm
about.
stocking items. I'm casually listening and like in the context in the context of this situation, like I think a lot of it is um where we think like a sexist joke exists where like a man like puts himself above a woman in like a joke. Like we would get
Yeah.
as a society we tend to get triggered about that kind of thing. But just in this song, like I was listening to the G-Eazy bit and the lyric that I like that caught my ear was it was like, you know, we keep mobbing, it's just me and my bitch. Fuck the world, we just gonna keep getting rich, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's just me and my bitch. Like if we're gonna like and this is a number one song. I think this hit number one song on like pop airplay on Billboard.
Dude.
And like if we're gonna take it's either gonna be everything or it's gonna be nothing. Like if you get mad like if you get
Oh,
mad,
are you saying the iDubbbz? Are you saying the iDubbbz rule? It's either
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
okay, it's none of it's
So
okay.
that's an important one because in this song, like he clearly, and they're dating, by the way. Like these people are in some semblance of a committed relationship, whether it's a legitimate thing or like hyping
Dude,
it up for the
that's
press.
disrespectful. That's disrespectful, dude.
Well, a
It just
little.
sounds
Well,
disrespectful. I know I'm coming from an outside source, but like, it just sounds
it
disrespectful to me.
sounds
I
it
mean,
sounds
it's
bad in my
it's a
context, but
song or
like
whatever, but it's like
it's words,
I don't want to
I
hear what
think,
they're talking about after they recorded that.
dude, I don't want to
Like
know.
I'm sure she was
Well,
I'm sure she was okay with
and
it to
this thing
some
has got
extent, but
millions and millions of plays, so maybe they just don't give a fuck anymore because they're actually rolling in cash. Like, if there's one part about that that's true, it's that they just go and keep getting rich, Like,
yeah.
they make they make their money. I mean, they do their things. So it hit number one on like the chart or whatever. That's cool. But like, if you made a joke that was like, "Hey, bitch, get in the fucking kitchen," like you'd be dead. You're fucking dead meat. But here,
Oh yeah, you're fucking
this
dead.
fucking
Forget it.
white dude who like rolls in money and pretends he gets lots of hoes, like to put up forward some kind of like popular image, is now calling a girl who he's dating and in some kind of committed relationship with, that we assume that there's an element of love in there, and he's just like, yeah, that's my bitch. Like, come on, dude. Like,
Dude, that does not sound like love to me. I mean, maybe I've never
well,
experienced love like
I
that,
don't
but
know.
that doesn't
I
sound too
I won't judge.
nice there.
I'm not gonna judge. I'm not gonna say that like, oh, that's bad. Like she
Maybe
should
she's
get away
okay
from
with
him.
it, dude. I don't,
Whatever. I
who
mean,
knows?
it's your thing, and that's
Maybe she's cool with it.
exactly the point. Is that like, for me, that's not really the way I would. That's not really how I roll. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, and my plus one is my bitch over there.
Dude,
That's not how I work. But for other people, it's okay, and that's where the difference is because for this Count Dankula dude, this was his video. He said that he didn't mean for it to get all the publicity and all the attention. He said he doesn't actually hate Jewish people. It was just the darker side of his humor. It was a prank for him and his girlfriend. And his girlfriend, like, I don't know, like, the full story on, like, but I assume they're still together. Like, it's clearly not a joke that, like,
I I
destroyed their
don't think they're
relationship.
together.
They're not together?
No, they're probably not. I don't see any good source that would say that they are because
I don't
who
think that's
knows?
important to cover. And, like,
I don't think it is either.
but
I'm not sure to be honest. I
we
haven't
have
looked
to
into it
assume
more than that.
that kind of joke is like not something that would be so off base that it would ruin their relationship. Otherwise, he wouldn't try and do
Hold
it.
on. I'm sorry. I just saw something at the very end of the article that says Meechan attracted support from his trial from British Jewish celebrities and prominent members of the British far right. So, who felt
Well,
his case highlighted an
yeah.
issue of free
Well,
speech?
here's the thing.
First of all,
So,
it did because free
yeah,
speech is fucking dead over there now.
yeah.
I
Well,
think it is.
yeah.
It's really fucking close to it
In
if
a
it's
lot of
not.
European nations, like there are plenty of instances where free speech is dead.
Well, we're the only place with a constitutional free speech.
Yeah,
So
but
that has to be noted.
yeah, that's important too. Is that we are kind of
U.S. I
we're
have to.
we're putting um we're putting our sense of morality um on this kind of thing. I mean, it's very clear that like there's a difference in the free speech, especially in like the United Kingdom and places over there where
Yeah,
like
theirs seems more like just a law that they can give and take, whereas ours is more set in stone.
yeah, and
Paper,
of
I should
course the
say,
far right
more accurately.
would be on this. But and keeping in mind that the British far right is different than the American far right.
Okay.
This
I don't really know it too well.
this it's really important to make the distinction between what is a joke and what is a serious actual damaging thing. Like if you were to walk up to a Jewish person and like your dog Sieg Heiled, and it was like a completely random thing and there was no context, of course this would be damaging, to the individual because there is a lot of like serious history behind that. Like like the Holocaust is serious stuff.
Yeah.
But when it is a joke between you and your significant other, that's when it's not about other people at that point.
And it should be noted that this dog was trained specifically when it heard that specific set of words, it would respond like that. And also, actually exactly that. So it would only raise its palm like that, or paw like that, if it heard Sieg Heil. So, I mean, you're not going to be taking a walk and saying Sieg Heil and then, just automatically
It
like,
was a
oh, your
private
dog
thing.
fucking
It was a
does
private
that,
thing. Like I'm sure that like there's
Yeah.
plenty of cases of other animals being trained to do other ridiculous shit, just not posted on YouTube. And like that's not the important part. The medium isn't
Yeah.
important. It's that it was a joke, and it should be
Yes.
taken as such.
That's all
it should not.
yeah.
It shouldn't be an attack
It's
on this guy. Like this
absolutely
guy's
ridiculous. And there's talk of him getting jail time. I personally don't think he's going to get jail time. I think he's going to get extreme.
fined.
I was talking to a YouTuber named Chris Raygun. I don't know if you know him.
Not
But
familiar.
I was talking to a YouTuber named Chris Raygun on his Discord, and he says that it's probably pretty unlikely. It seems pretty unlikely that he's going to get jail time for it. He's probably just going to get like community service, like hardcore community service.
Yeah, that's fair.
But he's looking at possible house arrest right now.
Well, yeah, and at this point, it's like way too extreme, and like,
I think it's ridiculous. He's not a fucking public menace. This man looks at memes and makes fucking
yeah,
meme
I mean,
videos.
his name is literally Count Dankula. Like, I don't think we've touched on that yet. Like, the guy is clearly not like a fucking serious like white supremacist Nazi.
Oh my god. So here's another thing that I was fucking pissed off about. So in the article, I think it's around the bottom, it says Sheriff Derrick told the court the accused knew that the material was offensive and knew why it was offensive. He would have known it was grossly offensive to many Jewish people. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it is offensive. That's not the point that we're arguing.
A fucking joke.
Yeah, that's not the
you
point
know?
we're arguing. Like, we're not arguing that it isn't like offensive to any degree. Like, they're clear. Like, teaching your dog to Sieg Heil and like Hitler reference is like, yeah, it's offensive, but it's also a joke.
And then the Council of Jewish Communities, and that's where I get bothered because they brought it to the Council of Jewish Community. Yeah, of course the fucking Jewish are gonna find this shit really offensive to themselves.
Oh yeah.
It's inherently, rooted in something that has to be Jewish. And I'm not saying it is offensive to the Jewish because I don't personally think it is. I think it is connected more to it being a joke at the expense of Nazis.
It's a joke at the expense of
and what
Nazis.
they did.
I mean, it's not.
I don't think it's a joke at the expense of a Jew because it's not.
Yeah,
It's not at all.
It's not. There isn't anything like. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not. It's not about Jewish people in the sense of where the joke is a joke. Like if the joke was at the expense of Jewish people in order to make a point, then we start edging into like maybe it's a bit of sketchy territory, at least for me. If it was worded like way differently where the Jewish people would end up being the bad people in that, but like the joke is made with the knowledge that what Hitler did was wrong.
Yeah.
The joke is made in that Nazis are horrible. Like that's the whole premise of the joke. And it's lost on people. Like it's baselessly lost on people.
It's so fucking ridiculous to me.
I mean, it's impossible. Ridiculous. And yeah,
it's just
like on this kind of stuff.
I can't think of it, dude.
I mean, there's at this point we're going.
This man
should
not be going to
yeah,
fucking
but
jail.
yeah,
For this.
he really didn't do anything that's like incredibly terribly wrong. He didn't really deserve all
this. The best
this.
argument is that I've seen is that He just said some joke that was in slightly poor taste. That's all he did.
Yep.
It was in poor, not slightly.
I mean,
sorry.
it was in poor taste.
to other
It's
people.
undeniable that like it was in poor taste. But
I think it was a bad joke in general, but that's also what kind of makes it funny to me.
yeah, I mean,
I
it's
think it was
not
just
like
ridiculous,
it's not like
it's ridiculousness.
yeah.
That's all it is.
It's there's a word for it. I'm not gonna pull the word out. There's a word for it.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to.
But it's absurd. I think is the best way to do it. Like the whole thing is absurd, and with that, I mean we got that pretty covered. I mean it's absurd. The situation is messed, and
I hate how the judge basically weighed it. Was basically weighing water to oil. By saying he said he knew it was an offensive remark, and that the amount of effort is basically what he used to consider the sentence, and that was ridiculous. I'm like, really?
I don't get this.
If I take half an hour to set up a harmless joke, and jokes were illegal, then you're gonna say that half hour, dude.
That's face value. Is if
like,
taking this at face value, any joke that isn't socially tasteful or acceptable is
dude.
fucking...
Those are boring. If you want my opinion, those are boring. Lots of them are.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was made in like
tasteful,
a little poor taste, and now Pooner's doing that thing. So whatever.
What's he doing?
He's making symbols. He's doing this is again also a tasteless joke, but what it is a joke.
Bad meme.
It's putting a finger in a fucking circle, and it means sex. And here it is.
Yeah.
On display is my offensive joke of the week.
Dude, it's like the kind of shit you'd see a 12-year-old
make
fun of.
Okay, and like this Nazi joke is like...
And I want to get into that. Really quick. Sorry. I want to get into that. There were people arguing that 12-year-olds are also making these quote-unquote alt-right remarks and shit. And I'm just like, dude, you probably did too.
Yeah, well... These same kids are probably watching
shit when you were 12.
Dude, this connects.
Just say anything.
This connects definitely to the PewDiePie thing with like the PewDiePie making the Nazi
Don't even
slur.
get me started. That's a whole other topic.
We will briefly mention this. So the PewDiePie paying the people $5 to do the fucking what did he put on it? A sign that said something like "Death to all Jews" or something like that. Was that it?
Yeah.
It might be. Yeah. It's something. And it triggered the whole anti-Semitic.
He didn't think it was going to happen, and it happened.
And it did, and he was shocked by it.
It was rooted in disbelief. He didn't actually think it would happen. The whole joke itself is that it's a ridiculous thing to have someone on Fiverr write something ridiculous like that. It's essentially like a social experiment. He wanted to see if these people would actually do that
for money.
Something that ridiculous. So the joke itself was rooted in ridiculousness.
Yeah, and it's not rooted in seriousness. You know? And while there is the valid point that a lot of 12-year-olds aren't capable of discerning the difference. People who are 12 are not going to be the ones making like serious change or social, like having like a social effect. Yeah, they're not going to do a lot. And by the time they're like 16, 17, 18, by the time they're around that age, they're going to start finding their own way, Yeah, and it's not going to be Nazism. I didn't realize how centered and how left and right I am on the scale until I was about 18. Well, you're not aware of like political stuff like that for a very, very long time. Like you don't become. Yeah, no, you don't understand it. Just hear a bunch of this shit. They're not aware. And you're just like, I'm that. And I'm sure it's alarming if your kid came home and was like, "Guess what I watched on YouTube today, Mom? See Kyle," and threw a fucking hand up. Yeah, that would be that'd be alarming. What I really like is there were some people making the argument that this video would teach people to be Nazis, and I'm like, dude, if you watch a pug Sieg Heil and you're just in your immediate thought is I'm gonna do that. You know what I should do? I should do that. because that looks cool.
That makes it
Well,
makes it 80 times funnier.
And
to
like,
me.
if you're really gonna be a Nazi, you're not gonna learn it from a pug. You're gonna listen to all the fucking documentaries out there about Nazis
and
and
then you're
pick
gonna
it up
make
from
the
there.
decision, and you're like, hey, oh yeah, you know what? I agree with them.
Well,
I
like,
think that
there's
they're
a fucking
right.
Nazi
Something
highlight
like
in
that.
like almost every World War II documentary. Like, it's not like this is some
Yeah.
fucking hidden secret. Like,
Dude, you can't watch that. You'll become a Nazi.
oh my god, if you watch anything informational about any
be
bad
careful.
people ever, like, if you watch a documentary about Genghis Khan, we should fucking ban you from ever riding a horse because you're gonna ride that shit and, like, slaughter the Mongolians or the fucking Chinese people.
Be careful out there, dog. Dude, kids
these days, man, getting their Genghis Khan on, fucking invading the Great
Oh my
Wall
God,
and
it's so
fucking
ridiculous.
killing the Chinese.
If here's the bottom line. And I think we can transition in the next one after this. But the bottom line is that a joke is a joke. It has usually, actually no, all the time, because that's what a joke entails, is, you know, if a joke is a joke, then it has no meaning to what it is telling the joke about, if that makes any sense. So if I make a joke about Nazis, it doesn't mean I'm producing Nazi ideals into my audience.
Yeah.
I'm just making a fucking joke about Nazis.
Yeah, and the second thing,
because it was edgy.
the second thing, the big takeaway from this is that parents should just censor their kids from everything. Because if they see one thing,
dude,
if they see anything about, like,
I don't think anyone should see anything until they're 18 years old on the internet.
we should put kids in dark rooms until they're 18 years old, so they can't see anything potentially traumatizing.
Dude, let's get it. Dude, you hear that girl Jeannie? Let's make like 6 million of those. I'd love that. I think
I've never wait. Well, we could just Harry Potter them. We just put them under the stairs. And just don't come out. Don't come out. Don't watch anything. It'll permanently damage you.
Yeah, my point is, this is censorship. It's bullshit. He should not be
it's
being
absolute
prosecuted.
fucking nonsense, is what it is.
It's nonsense. He shouldn't be being prosecuted for it.
Okay.
He's already guilty for it. It's fucking ridiculous. Moving on to the next article
and with
about
this one,
Facebook and Trumpery.
With this one, we get back into the American political sphere, because this is one of the biggest bombshells in a time where there's almost a goddamn bombshell every week. And I need to say what it is. I need to say what this presidential scandal is, because there's so many scandals out there. I can't reference a presidential scandal and just people know what I'm talking about. Because there's Stormy Daniels, there's this other woman who came out against Trump now, there's fucking everything, there's him firing a bunch of his critical staff. I mean, there's John Bolton becoming the fucking national security advisor. I mean, we're fucked.
Dude, all this shit with the firing has been fucking
insane.
Dude,
it's fucking mad.
One of my friends who never goes on political rants ever. Like,
finally
I've
broke.
Never seen her do it before.
Finally broke.
Dude, she finally fucking broke. After, who was the most recent person fired?
McMaster's got sent out, and John Bolton replaced him. He switched over his fucking press secretary like a billion fucking times. I forget.
Well,
there is another recent one.
I can't remember who it is. There was another guy. She got so passionate about this, and I've never seen her go on this much of a political like rant, because she just never does.
Let me see.
I've known her for a few months, you know, like I've known her since the beginning of the school year, and I never seen her do this. It's insane to me. She usually avoids that kind of stuff pretty well.
Oh, is it McCabe, the FBI deputy director?
Yes, yeah, the FBI.
Yeah. I mean,
she got
we're waiting for Mueller to get fired. We're waiting for that special counsel to get fired, because that's coming. I mean, he's finding shit, and it makes Trump nervous. I mean, he's tweeting a bunch. It's gotten more lampoonable as it's gone on. But anyways, we haven't even gotten to the title of the fucking article yet. It's the obvious one for this week. It's the Cambridge Analytica reveal. To the New York Times. Excellent reporting by them, by the way, in terms of the investigative journalism that went into this.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain it a little bit better because even though I read it, I didn't quite
Well, it's
understand
hard to
too
understand
well
because
what happened.
it's fucking unbelievable. Basically, the gist of it, Cambridge Analytica is a data analyst firm that's based in Britain. Um, the big thing here is that they analyzed the Facebook data of millions of people in order to better tailor the Trump campaign and media and their
Oh
things
no.
to Facebook likes, your Facebook friends, and they basically tailored a lot of that stuff based on this data. One, this
That's so
data
bad.
was sketchily obtained. The firm said that they were going to use it for an academic study, but it was immediately handed off to the Trump campaign to consult with it, basically. Um, the donation was $15 million from I believe the pronunciation is Robert Mercer. Um, he is like he's like the George Soros of the Republican Party. He he drops big fucking money on a lot of shit. And um it's it's insane. Bannon was in on this too. With because the tool, I mean, it's so powerful. All that Facebook data is so powerful. The number they cited was over 50 million users. None of them gave permission. None of them consented to this.
Wow.
The former employees and documents from this firm revealed all this. It underpinned a lot of the techniques for how he swooed the campaign. Um,
Holy shit.
I mean, it's
Dude, that's
crazy. Not it involves
dude.
foreigners, so this means that there's at least some foreign intervention in politics because it's British people doing this. One of the founders of it, this Christopher Wiley guy, he worked there until late 2014, said that the leaders for them that rules don't matter for them. For them, this is a war and it's all fair. Or that they want to fight a culture war in America. That Cambridge Analytica was supposed to be the arsenal of weapons to fight that culture war. Um, it wasn't disclosed until now. Facebook is in fucking utter panic. I mean, they banned Cambridge Analytica from their site, or they removed them at least, or suspended them in some form. They basically denied that this was intentional or anything like that, but it's really hard to believe that Facebook wasn't in on this. They downplayed the scope, they questioned a lot of stuff, so Facebook had a really shitty fucking response to this, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw what Zuck said. Yeah.
yeah, Zuck is kind of a cunt, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And I mean that in
Money is
all
money, am I right,
money is
Matthew?
money. Well, all that data is how. Well, we'll discuss. We'll discuss. So the Facebook data was basically illegally acquired. It was illegally used. Prominent Republicans were involved. It's the whole Trump campaign. It's um there's some stuff where well it says in this New York Times article that while the substance of Mr. Mueller's interest is a closely guarded secret, documents viewed by the Times indicate that the firm's British affiliate claims to have worked in Ukraine and Russia. Um, the WikiLeaks founder said that the dude who runs the whole fucking thing reached out to him in hopes of obtaining private emails belonging to Hillary Clinton. Um, there's it shows that Facebook does not give a fuck about protecting your information. It's
And
not
that was
stolen
really
or
under
hacked.
fire
It's
already,
not
you know?
stolen or hacked. It was just given out.
God, that's fucking
Dude,
ridiculous.
it's
That's like the Jake Paul, uh, and Post Malone shit, you know, where he docks Post Malone?
yeah. Well,
You remember that? That's
kind
like
of.
that kind of level of shit,
But
except this
like
is
it's
big.
huge. It's
Yeah.
huge.
This is like 10
So
times that.
over 50 million raw profiles were given to the firm.
They're
Um,
not getting anything from me. I
two
don't put shit on
yeah,
my
well,
profile.
270,000 people were who consented to it. So let me do some quick math here. So if we had 270,000 divided by 50 million, we're looking at less like a half of a percent of the people were gave consent. So that's fucking data rape if I've ever heard of it. Like no consent. Absolutely none. Um it's a big international thing too. Like I mean it's crazy. The big takeaway from this is that well, there's a lot of takeaways we can have from this. So one is that conservatives in this day and age are never going to admit that any of this was wrong. The immediate response to this was, oh, Obama used Facebook data for his 2012 campaign. That's true. He did use Facebook data, but it was all from people who consented to give their data. None of it was from people who had their data taken from them, or given out to people. Cambridge Analytica, their first choice was not Trump. They initially gave that Facebook data to the Ted Cruz campaign. So this is not just Donald Trump. This is the bigger picture here.
Is this shit like selling out, basically?
In that case, they were just given data to make sure that somebody won. I mean, they put $15 million into that shit. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm just gonna say that's straight up fucked. That whole thing in general
yeah.
is fucked.
Well, they don't think that they'll participate in the 2018 midterms or the re-election campaign for Donald Trump because their shit is fucked. Like their reputation is just scum fucked now, but that might not stop anything. Like we have to keep in mind that if they did it once, they could do it again. It's mad.
By the way, go vote next
okay,
election cycle.
Vote in 2018 and 2020. Vote when you have the chance. I think that's the big takeaway from here.
Definitely, dude.
Vote.
I enjoyed voting my first time because I was still in senior year of high school, so I got to get out of school for a solid
It's a thrilling experience to vote.
It is
because you have a voice. For this one, man, I mean, let's just talk about Facebook quickly. Can we?
You know Jepsen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was voting with him.
Oh my god.
Because he and I live right next to each other, so we walk into the voting complex at the school, and I look over and I see him, and then he immediately fucking memes me. He's like, "So cool, who you voting for?" I'm like, "Oh, Jepsen, you know, Cthulhu."
Damn it. Oh my god.
I said it all out loud too.
Yeah, but okay. Briefly, we need to talk about Facebook. Facebook is honestly the winner of this election was Facebook.
It was.
Because
we knew that something was happening, right?
Well, we knew that politics would change in reaction to social media. We knew we've had the Facebook fake news debacle where most people now get their news from Facebook, which is why this data is so powerful.
So Trump says that Facebook is fake news, but he got his analytics from Facebook. Or the analytics.
Well, he's now saying that social
technically by secondary source.
Yeah, basically.
Am I right?
Yeah. A lot of what Facebook tailors their whole algorithm tailors your fake news articles. There's a lot of misconceptions with fake news in how that works with Facebook. It's not that it changes your mind, it's that it more firmly sets you in what you believe in. Like if you're on the far right, you're far more likely to read some conspiracy about Pizzagate. If you're on the far left, you're far more likely to read into something about like Trump being a white nationalist or Gamergate or some fucking garbage like that.
Gamergate's a garbage. Can we talk about that next time?
Yeah, I mean if
let's talk about how shit Gamergate is.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get into that.
Because it's come back up. So
it'll come up. It'll come up. Like this shit'll come up.
We know.
For this, Facebook sold your data out, and if you're not cool with having your data sold to random people, that's their whole business model. Facebook isn't free. You don't have to pay anything, but they collect your information and they mess with it. I mean, they sell it out. Same with Google. Same with a lot of those big media or technology firms. They just sell your data. That's their business model. They sell it to random people. It's anonymous. I mean, it's not something that can be traced directly back to you. unless you really work hard
But it's
at it.
basically like, here's your info. We took this without your permission.
Yes, and then it
What's my privacy rights again?
yeah, you do have a right, you have a reasonable right to privacy, and this is in clear violation of the sentiment that
Yeah.
you have some kind of privacy or any kind of privacy at all
God,
online.
this fucking article is ridiculous.
If you want to prevent your information from being collected, you cannot participate online in any social media that's free. You even if you set your settings or whatever to say that you don't want your data collected, it's gonna happen. There's no legislation that protects this.
The only reason I have a Facebook anymore is for Messenger.
For real.
If I deleted my Facebook,
Actually,
it would delete my Messenger. And
well, you can log in with certain things with Facebook, and that data is collected too. I mean, if you log into like something with Facebook, I'm sure that like that is all collected, and now the world can find out about that. But
yeah.
But this is just
they're gonna go under high fire.
This is just
high fire.
This is just one part of the trend. You know, like this might have been crushing for any other politician, but when we've had so many controversies in relation to Trump, this hardly feels like anything, for me at least. Like, it's a big thing if you read into it, and it feels big, but it's not the most it doesn't feel big anymore. I mean, I'm desensitized to all this. Like, it no longer matters. Like today, like Stormy Daniels' lawyer tweeted out that CD that may or may not have Trump's nudes on it. Did you see that?
Yeah, I heard about that. I did.
Okay. One, I'm excited because these are gonna be some. I want, dude. I kind of. I want to see that. I want to see Trump's nudes. I'm 100% honest. That would be the most.
Dude, I'll go out of my way to go look.
Can you honestly, if those don't get leaked in any manner, that will be the most disappointing thing to have ever happened politically ever. Because like, I gotta see the presidential nudes because that would honestly quintessentially define how the whole fucking thing went down. That he used social media and he used it so well that now we see his fucking penis.
Oh my god, it's so amazing.
Well, and that man is 71 years old. I mean, it's gonna be comical.
I don't want to.
It's gonna be. Can you picture it? Can you fucking picture it right now? Because like.
Dude, yeah, I
But like, this is
I
important.
can't wait.
One, the big takeaway here. I need to see this Trump dong. I just need to.
Yeah.
It honestly would be a rewarding experience, I feel. And
It'll be rewarding.
In some way it'll be in a semblance rewarding, but this controversy is one of like it doesn't matter anymore. There was the grab her by the pussy controversy. There's the controversy surrounding all sorts of shit. He might have cheated on
rape allegations.
There's sexual assault allegations. None of it fucking matters, dude. Like this for anyone else is treasonous, almost.
Yeah. But not for us.
But not for him. Not for him.
Yeah.
I mean,
not for him.
There's people who are so far on his dick that like it doesn't matter what he does. The dude's a fucking deity to these people.
They're just denying the abuse that he's given them.
Yeah, and I mean he's delivered nothing on his promises. I mean, yeah. We mentioned that earlier. There's not a lot.
He got jobs for America.
There was that fucking tax reform. Well, barely. Those job increases that have been attributed to him.
Oh, dude, they've been. I know what you're about to say. They've been on the incline for like years, and him being in office.
Dude, Obama's economic policies.
I thought it was hilarious.
He's just riding the fucking wave. These conservative sites are like, oh, jobs are up now, like fucking magically.
Like, yeah, they've been going up, dumbass.
They literally went up like 7 straight years during Obama's presidency.
Yeah.
And now
and they're still going up.
And everyone was like, "Oh, the economy's fucked." Like, "Oh, we lost all these jobs." And then fucking Trump rolls in. He's introduced no real economic policy that's changed it. Like, sure, there's certainly changes in sentiment, which is why there's been a fucking bubble. By the way, the economy's crashing in the next 3 years. We're on a huge fucking bubble. Trump's delivering nothing.
Isn't it great to be in our freshman year?
Yep, freshman year of college, and the economy is about to fucking collapse.
Dude, it
Just
feels
today, from
wonderful.
these trade war things that he's been throwing out, the some of the richest people in the stock market lost $75 billion. I read just today because the stocks dipped because he's trying to trade war China.
I was focusing the camera. Sorry, I had to explain what I was doing.
I I I don't believe this anymore. Like it's like, and I'm immune to it. Like this shit should be like, it's mind-boggling, but it should be like,
Yeah.
it should be the end of the line, but it won't be.
Dude, it never will be. This is the most bizarre and interesting 4 years that we're going to experience
This is a social
as a
scientist's
president.
dream.
Dude, it makes no
I mean,
sense. And I'm so fascinated by why
the
this
double
happened.
standard here is ridiculous. Like all of this shit is
Dude, I've never
Watergate.
seen so much hypocrisy in the United
All this
States in
shit
my
is
entire life.
Watergate level mind-boggling. Like there's like, let's not minimize any of this. Like let's
But Matthew, that was the past. That's not happening right
it's
now.
unfucking believable. It's unfucking believable that like this shit just keeps happening.
It's fucking insane.
There's a controversy every
It's
other
insane.
week. I can barely name them all because I can't keep up. As an individual
This
simply
wasn't
reading,
this
I can't
wasn't
keep
that
up.
common. This was not that
No, this
common.
is not normal.
In our last cycle.
This is
This is
not normal.
not common
I
at
mean,
all.
fucking Obama's biggest
There were a few
controversy,
like controversies,
his
you know,
tan
but
suit.
like
Obama's biggest controversy was his tan suit. Donald Trump's biggest controversy is being investigated by a special counsel because everyone is fucking involved. I mean, Jeff Sessions recused himself, and I'm surprised that dude hasn't gotten the fire button yet.
dude,
Um,
I can't believe
the only person,
we hired that man for our president.
dude, I
believe
can't
we
believe
did.
this has happened. The only person that Trump can't fire right now is Mike Pence, and Mike Pence is arguably worse than Trump. Because
Yeah.
Mike Pence is a competent and well-versed and like not a loose cannon version of what Trump represents. Mike Pence would be fucking the worst thing to happen to
Dude,
this country.
Mike Pence would be the worst thing to happen
Dude,
in
Mike
America,
Pence
yeah.
believes that tasing gay people will cure them.
Dude, he also believes that smoking is good for you. Did you hear? Did you know
I
that?
didn't see that, but
Yeah, he's pro smoking. He's claimed himself.
well, dude,
pro
I
smoking.
bet the tobacco industry has been filling his back pocket since the beginning of time.
Yeah,
We have to
but
recognize that like money,
it's so fucking ridiculous the kind of shit that he stands
that
for, and I'm
all
just
this
like,
shit is
oh
ridiculous.
my fucking god, this is
I
insane.
know we started with like how we were optimistic and how like voting and stuff should be important, but at this point in time, with information like this that gets revealed on how they're basically curating what you see and your tendencies to market a message to you, I think we gotta end this with just, you gotta be really careful about like how you interpret all this information.
Yeah, be very
If
careful.
you
Make
if
sure if you really want to do your research because this stuff is
know
important to your country. You know?
know how the analytics work, because this is just the beginning. This information campaign is just the beginning. Information is arguably more valuable to money to these political organizations, and so they will give money to make sure this kind of thing happens. They want your information. They need to know how to access you. We live in an internet age where that's where the majority of people operate. That's how we end this. You gotta be careful on the internet, kids. You
Please be
please
careful
be careful on the fucking
because
internet.
don't. And I know so many kids who just like fucking visit websites and they click on ads and they just download all this fucking virus shit. Please be
Be
careful.
careful on the
Be
internet.
careful. Be fucking careful.
Know
Because
what
this
you're
kind of
doing.
shit
Know what you're
happens.
doing. Know what you're putting out there. Know that nothing comes without its cost. Nothing is free.
Yeah.
Your
Monetarily.
data is their money, and they make that money. The Zuck is
Yeah.
so rich. The Zuck
Dude, he's zucking himself.
the Zuck wants your money, and he's zucking your money away from you using your
Can I
data.
get a final word from T-Rune?
Final word from T Rune. He's been sitting in the back there, just kind of chilling out there. He's let me see. I'm not very good at this. Yeah, right here. Hey, any word? Cambridge Analytica, any words? Any knowledge? Any knowledge you'd like to proclaim? Cambridge Analytica. Okay, Gregor says he doesn't use Facebook. Huh? Oh, Runer would like to convey that he's Breitbart only, so we,
Okay.
yeah, lovely. Be informed.
Is he a MySpace user?
He might be a MySpace user. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie here. He might be a big MySpace user. I know Facebook
All right.
is definitely like, just be careful. Just be careful.
And with that,
And with that,
that
this
is the end of the podcast.
dude, is this
I don't
episode
know how to
0
end
or
it.
1?
This is episode 0.
Episode 0. Be safe on the internet. Know what you're doing. This is very tentative, so on behalf of everyone, if you watch this, comment a suggestion. If there's something that would increase the production value more than a fucking bed in the background, let us know if that hinders your viewing experience. That's what I got.
Yeah.
What
And my local artist named Nayuli drew this. Go check Nayuli out on Twitter. They draw really cool stuff. That's my promotion.
Yeah, check out these articles. We'll link them in the description. We'll put a timestamp on them for when we start to mention them. Definitely.
Do you want your Twitter in the description?
Sure, fuck it.
Yeah.
We'll put our social media, fucking if you want another thing that we're looking at in for future episodes is having people guest on. The one thing that I'd like to do is that if you wanted to be a guest or you wanted to put your 2 cents in, because like for us on some issues, like especially for like freedom of speech, this is gonna be an echo chamber. If you would like your voice heard and you would like a medium to express that and you would like to refine your viewpoints, this project that is like very loosely made is an excellent way to do that. Bring an article to the table. Bring something to the table. Bring your voice to the table. Let's talk about something. Let's debate this out. Let's get the information out that needs to get out so that people can make valuable decisions. Comment your feedback. If there's an article that you'd like to hear talked about, fucking drop a link in the YouTube comment section. If you would like us to dab at the beginning of every episode, like the Rune just did, do it. Do it. Let us know what would.
By the way, we should mention that Rooney is the production assistant.
Yeah. He's what's gonna make this, man. I mean, I'm just blabbing, and he's just dabbing. So.
So, thanks everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to us
for
blab
like
for like a fucking long time. Looking like an hour and 33 or close to that. Wow. So thank you for listening and watching. I love you. We'll probably see you next week, and we'll probably have more controversial shit to say.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.